Florida execution, the Edward Thomas James case, a confrontation of justice and mercy. Is executing someone with cognitive decline justice or a violation of human rights? This Thursday, Florida is scheduled to execute Edward Thomas James for the brutal 1993 murders of Betty Dick and Toni Neuner. This case forces us to confront the complex intersection of justice, mercy, and the ethical implications of capital punishment. Give a like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Edward Thomas James is scheduled to be executed by lethal injection this Thursday at Florida State Prison. He was convicted of the 1993 murders of Betty Dick and Toni Neuner in Casselberry, Florida. This execution is set to be the 4th in the United States this week and the 10th this year. Preceding executions took place in Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Arizona, highlighting the ongoing debate surrounding capital punishment in America. On September 20th, 1993, in Casselberry, Florida, a horrific crime unfolded. Edward Thomas James, who was renting a room in Betty Dick's home, committed unspeakable acts. James, reportedly under the influence of drugs, first targeted Toni Neuner, a young child. He strangled and raped her, then hid her body, demonstrating a chilling disregard for human life. His next victim was Betty Dick, a 58-year-old woman. James bludgeoned her, attempted to rape her, and stabbed her 23 times, leaving a scene of unimaginable violence. After committing these heinous acts, James fled the state with Dick's belongings. This act of desperation further solidified his guilt and initiated a nationwide manhunt. A 17-day search, aided by the television program America's Most Wanted, led to James's apprehension in California. The widespread media coverage amplified the urgency of the search. Upon capture, James confessed to the murders, acknowledging his guilt in the deaths of Betty Dick and Toni Neuner. His confession provided a crucial piece of evidence in the case. Initially, James accepted the death penalty, seemingly resigned to his fate. He even expressed a wish for peace before his execution, a sentiment that contrasts sharply with the violence of his crimes. Betty Dick was described as a loving grandmother, a pillar of her family. Her life was tragically cut short by James's brutal actions. Toni Neuner was remembered as an outgoing and vibrant young girl, full of life and potential. Her future was stolen in a senseless act of violence. The impact on the families of Betty Dick and Toni Neuner has been immense, leaving deep emotional scars. They have struggled to cope with the loss and the horrific circumstances surrounding it. Other grandchildren bear deep emotional scars, forever marked by the tragedy. The family's anger and disbelief remains strong, a testament to the enduring pain caused by James's actions. Attorneys for James are arguing that he is unfit for execution due to significant cognitive decline. They claim his mental state has deteriorated to the point where he doesn't fully understand the situation. A key indicator of this diminished mental state is his memory loss. His lawyers argue that this memory loss renders him unable to comprehend the gravity of his impending execution. James reportedly loses track of conversations, exhibiting potential signs of dementia. This raises serious questions about his mental competency. Psychologist Castillo questioned James's understanding, further fueling the debate over his fitness for execution. Her evaluation adds weight to the defense's claims. The defense argues that executing James in his current state would constitute cruel and unusual punishment, violating his constitutional rights. This argument hinges on the Eighth Amendment. The scheduled time for the execution is just after 6 p.m. ET this Thursday. The world will be watching as this controversial case reaches its climax. The location of the execution is Florida State Prison in Rayford, a place synonymous with capital punishment in the state. This facility has been the site of numerous executions. The method of execution is lethal injection, the most common method used in the United States. This method has also faced scrutiny and legal challenges. The core question at the heart of this case is whether it is ethical to execute someone with cognitive decline. This question challenges our understanding of justice and human rights. The legal system must balance upholding the law with ensuring humane treatment. This balance is particularly difficult to achieve in cases involving mental competency. The Eighth Amendment prohibits cruel and unusual punishment, a cornerstone of the defense's argument. They contend that executing James would violate this constitutional protection. The defense argues that James's memory loss renders him unable to comprehend the reasons for his execution. This lack of understanding, they claim, makes the execution unethical. The prosecution counters that James was aware of his actions at the time of the crime. They argue that his current mental state should not negate the consequences of his past actions. It's crucial to remember the humanity of Betty Dick and Toni Neuner, the victims of James's heinous crimes. Their lives were tragically cut short, leaving a void in their families' lives. For the victims' families, the execution may represent a final reckoning, a sense of closure after decades of pain. However, closure is a complex and often elusive concept. The execution forces families to relive the horrific details of the crime, reopening old wounds. This reliving of trauma can be incredibly painful and emotionally draining. The emotional toll on the families is immeasurable, a burden they have carried for decades. Their suffering should not be forgotten in the legal and ethical debates surrounding the case. There is a need for empathy and understanding towards the victims' families, who have endured unimaginable loss. Their perspective is often overlooked in discussions about capital punishment. This case raises fundamental questions about the justice, effectiveness, and fairness of capital punishment. The debate surrounding capital punishment is complex and deeply rooted. Opponents of capital punishment argue that it is cruel and unusual and that there is a risk of executing innocent people. They advocate for alternative forms of punishment. Proponents argue that capital punishment serves as a deterrent and provides justice for victims and their families. They believe it is a necessary tool for maintaining order and upholding the law. The debate over capital punishment is rooted in deeply held moral and ethical beliefs. There is no easy answer, and opinions vary widely across society. The execution of Edward Thomas James marks a somber moment, forcing us to confront difficult questions about justice and mercy. This case demands reflection and critical thinking. We urge you to delve deeper into the arguments for and against capital punishment. Educate yourself on the complexities of this issue. Engage in respectful dialogue with those who hold different views. Understanding diverse perspectives is crucial for informed decision-making. Contact your elected officials to express your opinions on capital punishment. Your voice matters in shaping public policy. Support organizations that advocate for criminal justice reform. These organizations work to create a more just and equitable system for all.